The topics, of course, that the Democrats seem to have had trouble rallying around is this reauthorization or this so-called Restore Act, this fix of FISA. Marcy, just give me your sense, and and maybe we can also get our other guests, obviously, to comment on the state of play on this. But give me your sense of what kind of bill we are looking at, maybe coming out of the Senate versus the House.
I'm glad you asked me that, but I'm sure Glenn's going to have a lot to say about this, too. Coming out of the House, it looks pretty clear that they're going to refuse to give immunity to the telecommunications firms. Coming out of the Senate, Jay Rockefeller gets a lot of money from the telecommunications industry, and it looks like they're leaning towards giving immunity to the telecoms with Chris Dodd and Dick Durbin as the two standouts who are saying, we can't do this. This is basically giving away the rule of law in this country. So I think you're going to see some conflict among the Democrats, and the big question is the Progressive Caucus really pushed the Democrats towards a more reasonable bill. And the question is, can they keep together, and can they bring in more people to support their side of the argument to at least prevent telecom immunity from going through?
Dr. Ron Daniels, I want to just get off the Democrats' positioning on this in a moment, but I mean, for the moment. But tell me, where is the legal community here? I mean, where I would think at this point this would be sort of beyond a partisan and a political issue. I would have thought that we would see legions of retired judges, that we would see every legal institution just screaming from the rafters about this type of thing.
You know, it is kind of odd, because I know on Guantanamo, when I was executive director of the Center for Constitutional Rights, we actually found that there were some unusual suspects who actually were very, very concerned about Guantanamo and therefore signed on to represent people there. But on this one, the ACLU and the Center for Constitutional Rights, others are raising their voices and attempting to fight whatever way they can, but you don't really hear the kind of outcry that you would expect. So New York Times today has an excellent editorial on this. Well, it's not excellent, but at least it stands, at least raises the critical questions about FISA, and of course the whole question of the telecommunications involvement in it. And of course there's that scary story about the Quest company, where this information, or at least the whole solicitation of the of the telephone companies, happened even before 9/11, which is quite frightening, actually.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in just a moment, but Glenn, I want to get your take on. You've been writing quite a bit about the Dems' would-be, could-be capitulation on these elements of FISA. We spoke, I think, earlier in the week about the notion of the bill that coming out of the House. The Senate version seems to be, wow. I mean, it really is. One wonders if AT&T themselves didn't just write it. If maybe it's with that Verizon guy. Can you hear me now? Maybe he was the one who wrote this bill.
Well, I mean, Marcy's exactly right. I mean, basically what happens is, and you're not that far off, even though, you're sort of being satirical in describing it, is the telecoms do have a bipartisan cast of very well-connected lobbyists, including a lot of former Clinton officials like Jamie Gorelick and others, who have access to Democrats and who have the respect of an ear of Democrats in the House, the community, because the telecoms get off the hook, and for the Bush White House, these lawsuits are the last remaining mechanism to really investigate what happened here with warrantless surveillance, and that's the big reason why they're so eager to have these lawsuits cut off. And I think for a lot of Senate Democrats, their allegiance is to their big contributors and to the Beltway culture itself, and the last thing that they want to do is expend any political capital or take any political risk for the rule of law, or for checks and balances, or for the idea of warrants, or holding telecoms accountable. They just don't perceive that there's any benefit in doing that, and they don't really believe in it. And that's why you have, just enough Democrats probably to join with the entire Republican caucus to make this happen.
Yeah, it really is shocking. It really is just shocking. And of course, the reason why, as you stated, and I don't think this can be emphasized enough, The reason why the Bush administration wants immunity for these telecom companies is because it is the only route to any legitimate and any real accounting for just what has gone on with this warrantless spying of Americans.